It's time for the 1430 Connection on 1430 WNAV and 99.9 FM, spotlighting news, newsmakers, and important community issues. Now, with this week's edition of the 1430 Connection, here is WNAV news anchor Donna Cole.
Welcome to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me today, I'm so glad she's joined me because her job is really cool. Alison Buckler. She is a pilot. Alison is a Bay pilot. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
What's so cool, especially about this, is way back when there were no women pilots. Even today, there's not many women pilots. Alison, do you know the statistics on this?
We have 3 in Maryland,
Okay.
And I was actually just at the American Pilots Association conference, and there were about 7 or 8 of us there, and we ran through the list of female pilots in different ports, and we came up with about 32 nationwide.
That's just, it's so much better than it was, but so much work to do to get more women in this field.
Yes, it is better than it was, though.
You're also the vice president of the Annapolis Maritime Society. Tell me what they do.
I am. We're a group of individuals that are involved in shipping in the Annapolis and the DC area. We meet once a month, and then we have a few larger functions, and our goal is just to get everybody together. Our slogan is shipping the way it used to be, which just kind of means a family atmosphere, just connecting people across different areas that ship and just getting them together.
Now, let's get back to this bay pilot, harbor pilot, ship pilot. Wherever there is a harbor, wherever ships are pulling into port, there is a pilot guiding them into and out of that port.
Yes.
And that's your job.
Yes.
In order to do that, you get on these ships and you're doing it out in the middle of the bay. You're being transferred by a pilot boat. Tell the public, because they might not know, how that transfer takes place, even in rough water. And yes, the Chesapeake does get rough.
Yes, the Chesapeake does get rough. We actually board inbound ships at the Sea Buoy down in Virginia Beach, which is sort of where the ocean and the bay meet.
Which is incredibly rough.
It is incredibly rough.
Hampton Roads.
And we board in hurricane conditions. We board any condition there is. We board fog, we board snow, wind, rain, sleet, beautiful sunny days. We board. Anytime a ship needs to come into port, there has to be a pilot on it, so we have to board it.
And that process of boarding is very dangerous because you're on a small boat, or smaller compared to these huge freighters or
Yes.
tankers, and you're climbing up. Explain to people that have never seen this.
Yeah, the ship will put a rope ladder over the side, and the ladder's called a Jacob's ladder. So it's just a straight rope ladder that hangs over the side. And our pilot launch, which is about 50 feet long, will pull up alongside the ship. And it's kind of a timing issue. You sort of like jump onto the rope ladder, and then you climb up to the top of the ship, and somebody greets you and takes you to the bridge.
And though Alison just said the boat is 50 feet long, believe you me, that is really small compared to some of the ships she's getting up on.
Yeah, that's very small. Some of the larger ships that we bring in today are in excess of 1,100 feet long. They're huge.
Is there a learning curve or a comfort curve in there with climbing up on this ladder, or you were just right from the get-go, jump off and get going?
There's probably a learning curve, but I've been doing it long enough now where you don't even really think about it. You just kind of do it.
How long have you been doing it?
This is my 13th year.
Okay, and where did you grow up?
I grew up all over the place. My father was a Secret Service agent, so we moved a lot. But I graduated high school in Fairfax, Virginia, and then I obviously live in Annapolis now.
And when you were in high school, elementary school, right from the get-go, you said, I want to be a ship pilot.
No, I actually wanted to be a high school guidance counselor. And I went to Longwood College for a year. I kind of found myself not going to class a lot, but still getting straight A's. Mm-hmm. And I sort of hit this point in my life where I wanted more. So, truth be told, I applied to the only 2 military academies that would take me without having to skip a year and wait, because it was late in the year. I think I thought about all of this in like May,
right.
You know. And so I applied to USMMA, Merchant Marine Academy, and U.S. Coast Guard Academy. And I got into both, and then somebody told me that the Coast Guard Academy had a lot of hills, so the indoctrination program was harder. So I went to Kings Point, and then the minute I was there, I knew it was for me. It was awesome. And then going to see, you just can't beat it. It was awesome. Cadet shipping, at the Merchant Marine Academy, you do a year at sea as a cadet, and that was when I just really knew that it was the right job for me.
Yeah, let's talk about your bio, and I pulled this off of the Annapolis Maritime Society website, because you've, in addition to this piloting thing, or before that, so you went to the Merchant Marine Academy, you then you got on tugs, right?
I did. After I graduated, I worked for Maritrans, yes.
And that was on the Delaware River, and then up to Alaska, and what were you doing in Alaska?
I was working for Alaska Tanker Company, which is a company that brings crude oil from Alaska down to the coast of California.
unlimited tonnage master's license that you hold, which is, absolutely so cool.
Thank you.
What ships haven't you been on that you've wanted to?
Oh, I've been on pretty much every type of ship.
Navy too, I would guess.
Navy also, yeah, we
bec-
do Navy in the Chesapeake Bay as well, yes.
And down on the York River, because that's where I was at one point.
I've been one time on the York
the
River.
weapons station?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
And a first-class pilotage for the Chesapeake Bay and Chesapeake and Delaware Canal, and also Valdez, Alaska. Were you up in Alaska during the spill?
No, I was not.
Okay. You live in Annapolis, Maryland. You have a husband and a daughter. You're out on the water a lot. So how old is your daughter?
She's 6.
How's that work as mom?
It's okay.
And,
I mean, it's kind of a flowy process. We have a nanny, and we also use my mother-in-law a lot. We lean on her, and we've been very lucky. It's been a great experience. Like I said, I couldn't have done it without the people in my life. Our nanny and my mother-in-law, they've just both been great.
Super. All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, more about what pilots do, more about what Alison does. I'm Donna Cole. This is the 1430 Connection. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me today is Alison Buckler. She's a bay pilot. You see those ships out on the bay? She's the one that helps them navigate into the Baltimore Harbor or anywhere else along the Chesapeake Bay and C&D Canal that they need to get into and out of. It's such a male-dominated industry, as you know.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell you. Have all the captains been pretty receptive?
No, I was very lucky when I came here. There were 2 female pilots in Baltimore that were here before me, and I think they did a lot of the legwork to kind of smooth things out, Every once in a while, I'll run across a captain that sort of
doesn't want to give
has
up
never
the helm
seen
to
a female, or a comment I get a lot of times is from the mate that's leading me up to the bridge in the elevator. He'll say, "Oh, first time I see a lady pilot," and I always just respond, "Oh, really? First time I've seen a man mate." And it kind of gets them thinking.
Right.
But no, most across the board they're pretty good, and it's sort of like old hat now that they see female pilots. They get it.
Not so long ago, not only was it a male-dominated industry, it was a family-dominated industry, passed from father to son, correct?
Yes.
To become a pilot was like one of the hardest things that you could do.
Yeah, Maryland is very progressive in terms of piloting, and for a long time now, we've had a state board that chooses pilots. So all of that situation was cleared up a long time ago in Maryland, and now there's an interview process, and it's very fair. It's all above water. So that was the system that I came in under.
And okay, so can't remember a bad situation. How about a really cool situation? Really cool ship that you hadn't seen that you wanted to be on? I don't know, something different.
The post-Panamax container ships are just, I could get into what a post-Panamax container ship is, but I don't know how much.
We are in a maritime community.
So the old beam restriction for the Panama Canal was 106 feet wide.
Right.
Which for a long time was the widest ships were. Anything wider than that had to go around. They couldn't use the canal. So now that the new Panama Canal has opened, the new beam restriction, I believe, is in upwards of 150. I think I was on a ship that was the absolute max, and it was about 160 feet on the beam. So some of those ships are just really cool. They're new, they're huge.
Right.
You're on them, and you feel like you're on a huge ship, but they're beautiful. The technology on them is beautiful. They handle beautifully. The crews are trained. Everything's top notch, and it's just all in all, you get off and you just get a good feeling about where the maritime industry is going. They're sort of top notch. It's
and
good.
the ports had to accommodate these changes
too. Yes, the ports
too.
did. Yeah, and Baltimore has new post-Panamax cranes, and we're set up to handle these ships. I think everybody's going in that direction, but Baltimore was sort of ahead of the curve in seeing it coming and being ready for it.
Actually, remember when that was brought up, the bay.
Yes.
Right.
You had asked for about one type of thing that I wanted to do and didn't get to do.
That was it.
Unfortunately, there was only one pilot that got to pilot that ship up, and that would have been so cool. I mean, it cleared the Bay Bridge by
inches.
Yeah, inches, and it was a tide job. And from what I understand, the Coast Guard had it anchored further down the bay because they were afraid that people would kind of gawk at it as they went over the Bay Bridge, and it would cause an accident. I mean, it was sort of a really interesting job. So that was one thing I didn't get to do that I thought would have been interesting.
For those that are younger, and for both male and female, this is a very rewarding career path, and one that some might not have considered before. Now, here's an interesting thing for those that haven't worked around the maritime industry, and I have. You might think that everybody enjoys being out there on the beautiful days, like, for instance, today, warm out, seas are kind of calm. It's sometimes the exact opposite. There's nothing cooler than being out on a gray day or a day when water's rough, winds are bad, because it's challenging. Do you agree with that?
It is challenging. And I was actually going through some pictures that I had, some work pictures that I had last night because the Annapolis Maritime Christmas party. And I was looking for cool weather pictures to insert in the slideshow the year, just as fillers, you know. And some of the pictures I have are just amazing. I mean, of, clouds that just look so brilliant and the colors are so great. And then I have one of a night that was, it must have been blowing 40 and snowing, and I just snapped a picture of the Russian captain looking out the window, and there's like snow on the window, and you can see the blowing snow. And
well, we'll include that if we can get that from you in the slideshow here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What's your most tricky area along the bay that people might not think about? I mean, I know probably the small craft are the biggest issue for you guys.
Sure.
But
well, the Chesapeake Bay is really interesting, and our route is really interesting because it is 150 miles long. So if you start from the Virginia Beach area, there's 50 miles of dredge channels and restricted navigation, and then it opens up and it's the Chesapeake Bay. The area that we run in, you can see if you look at a chart, it's the 60-foot curve. Mm-hmm. But then once you hit the bay, or that was a bad term to use, once you hit the Bay Bridge, once you get to the Bay Bridge, there's 17 miles of super restricted navigation. It's buoyed channels, it's dredge channels, and when you can't leave the channel because you will go aground. Mm-hmm. So that probably is the trickiest area. And then if you insert into that there's fishing boats.
A military base that does some weird stuff off of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. But, and then in the summertime we get people crossing from the Narrows across, and they've obviously had a couple. And there's just various things that go into it. But I would say from the Bay Bridge to the Key Bridge and then into Baltimore Harbor is probably the more difficult part in terms of just not being able to leave where you are. The ship has to be where the ship is.
How about, to go back to a conversation we just had, with men treating you fairly and treating you as an equal. The tugboat captains, has there been any weirdness with that?
I've been there long enough. I think they know me, and I think I know them. 2:00 in the morning, nobody's awesome. I'm not awesome,
Right.
People are grumpy, but I think we work together well. I think they're all great guys, and I think they get me, and I get them. I never have had a problem with any of them.
Are there any female tug captains currently that you know of?
I don't want to speak incorrectly on that.
You're not sure?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We had one that worked for Moran in Baltimore, who's I'm still friends with, and now, from what I understand, she's in Miami now. She's still working for Moran in Miami.
Right.
So yeah.
All right, we're going to take another short break. When we come back, more about this very interesting job that Alison has and all that she does. I'm Donna Cole. This is the 1430 Connection. We will be right back. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me today is Alison Buckler. She's a pilot. That does not mean she flies planes. How many times do you get asked if that means you are...
Constantly. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice. I have a little cold, and I went to Minute Clinic at Target the other day and was filling out the paperwork to get a strep test because I thought, my God, I probably have strep, whatever. And the lady said, no, the strep test negative. I would take Sudafed, but that's probably going to affect you in flying and everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
For those that didn't hear the first part of the show, a pilot in these parts, when you're on the water, guides ships in and out of port. And we're not just talking about, little ships. We're talking about really, really big ships. And Alison is in charge of getting those safely into and out of ports. And it's just, I don't know, I just think it's the coolest job. There's not a lot of women doing it, so she's really breaking barriers even to this day. You went to the Merchant Marine Academy. Where is that?
That's in Kings Point, New York.
Okay. And you had a choice between that and the Coast Guard Academy. Coast Guard Academy had hills. Merchant Marine Academy didn't. You do an incredibly tough job.
Yes.
our safety depends on it, the safety of the ships, you know, the safety of the wildlife.
Yes.
Look what happened in Valdez.
Yes.
For those that are younger, and for both male and female, this is a career path and one that some might not have considered before. Your cousin's here with us today. Introduce your cousin for us.
This is my cousin, Madeline Thibault. She's a junior at the Merchant Marine Academy, and she's studying to go to sea. She'll get her third mate's license and also a Bachelor of Science in Logistics, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why did you choose this?
I was a junior in high school, and Allison kind of didn't pressure, but kind of opened the doorway. I really had no idea what the Merchant Marine Academy was until like late junior year, early senior year, and I had no idea what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to Boston College and have fun in Boston, and they kind of like pressured to like at least visit Merchant Marine Academy, and like she said, she went there and like just fell in love. I couldn't see myself doing anything else now.
I just think it's so cool.
It's great.
So what would you say to younger people, other than your cousin, that don't know anything about this industry, especially women?
I would say it's a fantastic opportunity. I mean, the industry needs women. Kings Point needs women. It's a great opportunity. I don't have a 9-to-5 job. I don't have a desk job. I don't have anything like that. But what I have is an awesome job, a job that I love.
What are your hours? How do you work?
My hours are any hours. We work a southbound ship and a northbound ship, and then we go to the bottom of a list of pilots, and then as ships leave port, the pilot list gets shorter, and when you're at the top of the list, you go to work again. So usually it's about 3 days work and a couple nights home, something like that.
And the transit up the Chesapeake Bay from Hampton Roads to Baltimore, how long does that take?
It
depending
depends on the speed
ship,
of the ship.
right?
Yeah, it depends largely on the speed of the ship. It's 150 miles from point A to point B.
Were you on any of the ships that came up for the Fleet Week?
I was not this time. I just happened to be in a different place on the turnwise.
Right. So some of the naval ships will be cruise up pretty quick.
Yes.
Some of the freighters, tankers will
take a long time.
All right. Very good. This is such a cool career that you have. And
it's an awesome career. Yeah. And Maryland is a great place to have the career. The Chesapeake Bay is fabulous. You get a little bit of everything. You get, like I said, buoyed channels. You get some of if you're looking at it from I don't know what the right term to use is, but a perspective of like
ease of doing your job.
Yeah. I mean, it's
easier than Valdez, I would guess.
No. I think, one thing that I've learned as I've been a pilot and been around other pilots is that everyone's pilotage is different, but everyone's pilotage has a similar degree of difficulty. It's just in a different form. Mm-hmm. So in the Chesapeake Bay, like I said, you do have buoy channels. You do have places you can't go aground, However, if we had 150 miles of that, it would be almost impossible to do it. So it's got a good mix of things. It kind of keeps you on your toes. It's always changing. It's always different. Every time you go out there, it's a different Chesapeake Bay. And it's fabulous because of that.
And are you still in the C&D Canal?
Yes, we do the C&D Canal also. Actually, my last 2 jobs, I think I brought Madeline. I call her Mim. I brought Mim with me on the C&D Canal on a car carrier just the other day, and that's some of the coolest navigation around. You're literally piloting a ship through
such a thin.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing houses. One guy up there has zebras.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Where?
Yeah.
Where's that?
It's right as you make the turn at Town Point, and I tell all the ship captains, I'm like, grab the binoculars. Zebras.
So that was going to be my next question. What wildlife have you seen out there? But
zebras. Yeah.
There's something you wouldn't expect.
Yeah. But yeah. One of my favorite things that the Chesapeake Bay offers that it's so goofy. I feel like I'm over emotional saying this, but I see pelicans in a flock of pelicans and I get like teary-eyed. I don't know why. I think it's just so cool. The other day when I was down, I had just cleared the Chesapeake Bay Bridge tunnel and I took the binoculars because I saw like spray and there was actually a whale. Yeah, which is cool. It's cool that they're coming back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So a lot of cool things.
Thank you so much for being here today. It was such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
This is Donna Cole. This has been the 1430 Connection. We will see you next week.